Tonight on CFTK-TV News, a mining project near Smithers has begun production, a most wanted fugitive has been captured, and BC's opposition leaders laid out their plans at an annual meeting.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Good evening, I'm Cael Maslin, and here's what's making the news in the Northwest and beyond for today. With Canada Post workers hitting picket lines, the flow of mail across the country has stopped. Canada Post says mail and parcels will not be processed or delivered during the strike, and some post offices will be closed. It's also suspended service guarantees for items already in the postal network and will not accept new items until the labor disruption is over. The federal government is encouraging people applying for passports to use couriers other than Canada Post if they are applying for their travel document by mail. They say applicants can also visit a Service Canada Centre on Passport Office to begin the process. Canada Post says the striking Canadian Union of Postal Workers has agreed to continue the delivery of socio-economic checks during the labor disruption. A mining project located in northwestern BC has reached the major milestone of beginning their active operations. Blue Lagoon Resources recently confirmed that they are starting up their active mining operations at their Dome Mountain Gold project located near Smithers after getting their first delivery of blasting material. Blue Lagoon's president and CEO, Rana Vig, expressed how he and his company are feeling now that they've gotten to this point in the project's life cycle.
We're excited to work with the local community and the First Nations, as we develop and increase, production here and make this a very viable and socially responsible project. We're very excited about that. I think you're going to see this is going to be one of the best projects, in my opinion, in this province over the coming years.
And in another interview prior to production starting up, Vig also explains that the mine's production would not be conducted in definitively set work periods.
The mine site is certainly accessible year-round, and so we have no limitations there, and it's our expectation to be working predominantly 365. There may be a short break, perhaps for Christmas or New Year's, or depending on staff and the contractor miners what they want to do. But certainly, we expect to be running pretty much year-round.
One of the final processes that needed to be completed before the start of production was the installation of a required water treatment plant. Vig then went on to describe how it works and why it's needed.
We built our water treatment plant well over the required capacity. It's in fact, it's well over 6 times the requirement that we need currently to treat the water. When there is blasting and just in the natural process of mining, there's elements that enter into the water. And so the water treatment system is a state-of-the-art system designed by one of the best water specialists in the country. It's a design to make sure that the water that we're discharging is clean.
Blue Lagoon is expected to release a quarterly report on how the mine's production is going before the end of this year. For CFTK-TV News, I'm Cael Maslin. The Kitimat RCMP recently released a report detailing some of the notable incidents that they had to deal with in the month of September. One incident saw the police get word of an assault in progress near the intersection of Kingfisher Avenue and Heisler Boulevard. It was said that 2 males were assaulting 2 other people, and when responding officers arrived on the scene, the 2 suspects had left the scene on e-bikes, and the victims were taken to the hospital with minor injuries. But thanks to video that captured the incident, both suspects were found not long after and arrested. The pair were eventually released from custody and given a future court date. Coming up next, a police-involved shooting of a teenager has left many questions. Welcome back. After more than 3 years on the run, there's confirmation that one of Canada's most wanted fugitives has been captured. Rabbit Al-Khalil, a 2-time convicted murderer who escaped from a BC jail, has been arrested on the other side of the world. But the question is now, will he be extradited back here? CTV's Ben Nesbitt has the details.
On a summer night in 2022, police say Robbie Al-Khalil, with the help of 2 men posing as contractors, escaped the North Fraser Pretrial Center in Port Coquitlam. Now, after a 3-year international manhunt, his time on the run has come to an end.
We have a confirmation which came on September 24th that Robbie Al-Khalil is in custody in Qatar.
At the time of his escape, Cael, who had already been convicted of a murder in Ontario, was on trial for first-degree murder in connection with the deadly 2012 gang shooting at the Wall Centre in downtown Vancouver. He was later convicted in absentia of that crime. Earlier this month, the two men accused of helping him escape were charged. Reports of Cael's arrest surfaced earlier this month, but the RCMP confirmed Thursday he was caught under an alias sometime in September.
We work collaboratively with our national and international partners. It shows the reach that we have and RCMP support that we are able to, no matter where our fugitives are, we are able to actually get them.
Mounties say talks are underway to have him returned here. However, Canada and Qatar do not have an extradition treaty.
There's no choice. They have to play let's make a deal.
Vancouver-based immigration lawyer Richard Kurland says it's likely that Qatar was aware of Cael's presence for some time and that Canada eventually came to the table with something in return.
It's getting the people who rule Qatar to go on your side and deliver the Canadian. They have to be motivated to do that, or else it'll take years. Something motivated Qatar now.
The RCMP says it will work with Crown in possibly having more charges laid against Cael in relation to the escape. If and when he is returned home, it will be the responsibility of Correctional Services Canada to execute that mission. Ben Nesbitt, CTV News, Surrey.
Two of BC's opposition leaders laid out their starkly different agendas to mayors and councillors at the Union of BC Municipalities annual meeting. The newly elected leader of the Greens took aim at the NDP, while the leader of the Conservatives called for the repeal of Indigenous rights legislation. CTV's Rob Buffum has more from Victoria.
Please welcome Emily Lowen.
The BC Greens' new leader kicked off her first full day on the job with a speech to BC's mayors and councillors, continuing her sharp attacks against Premier Eby and the NDP.
It should be a stark wake-up call to the BC NDP and the Eby government. They have continuously shifted rightward. They've capitulated to the Conservatives at every turn.
BC Conservative leader John Rustad addressed the crowd at the UBCM a couple hours later, pledging to transform Metro Vancouver into a utility, provide $1 billion in infrastructure funding to municipalities annually, and warning that the NDP and recent court cases posed a threat to private property rights being trampled by Indigenous title.
Indigenous rights and private property rights cannot coexist.
Indigenous rights have featured prominently at the meeting, municipal leaders pushing back on a lack of consultation by the province to propose changes to the Heritage Conservation Act that would see more input from First Nations on development projects. The province agreeing to extend consultation.
I want to make sure we get this right, so we're going to extend the engagement and continue listening to British Columbians.
Simmering below the surface all week, fallout from MLA Eleanor Sturko getting kicked out of caucus by Rustad. The high-profile MLA accused of trying to start a mutiny. Questions swirl whether other caucus members will leave in protest or be scared to speak out.
The fear of ending your career, will that stop people from doing what even they may feel in their heart? There's a possibility.
And it'll take some time for all that to settle down, but I am confident, and I've talked to all of the MLAs that are within our structure, I am confident that we all have one goal in mind, which is we need to bring an end to the destructive policies of this NDP government.
The meetings wrap up Friday with a speech from Premier Eby, who's missed most of the event, but likely enjoyed the fireworks, threatening to ignite his main opponent.
There are still many unanswered questions about the fatal police-involved shooting of Chase de Bellenhard in Surrey earlier this year. The teenager's death has sparked outrage as questions to whether enough safeguards are in place to allow people with disabilities to have safe interactions with police. But the Human Rights Commissioner says it's impossible to know for sure when no BC institutions are currently keeping track of those incidents. CTV's Reagan Hasegawa investigates in an exclusive series, and a warning, this story may be disturbing to some viewers.
Taking handcuffs off my kids.
Sorry, are you a mom?
I'm the parent.
This video of Metro Vancouver Transit Police handcuffing a 12-year-old boy with autism at BC Children's Hospital went viral 2 years ago.
Are you okay? Are you okay? The officers treated my kid as an adult. The way they talked to him, the way they handled him.
At the time, transit police told CTV News the use of force was necessary for the safety of the person in crisis.
He was screaming, crying, and to add to the screaming and crying, the officer put his knee on top of my kid's back.
Brown called for better training for police who encounter people with intellectual disabilities. The mom who recorded this video has echoed the same sentiment. Her adult son, who has autism and is nonverbal, was mistakenly identified as a suspect in a gang shooting in Nanaimo.
My son is deaf and autistic.
Crystal de Ballenhard believes a lack of knowledge about neurodiversity contributed to her son's death. In February, 15-year-old Chase was shot and killed in an interaction with RCMP.
When we have so many neurodiverse individuals in our community, why aren't we protecting them? We need change. We need police officer training, not from a module, not in a classroom. They need to do a practicum.
So how many police calls involving neurodivergent people result in use of force? It's something BC's Human Rights Commissioner is trying to figure out.
We're looking at the statistics around use of force by police to understand or better understand how use of force may be impacting certain communities in a disproportionate way, in particular on the basis of race and mental illness or mental disability.
But no major BC institutions appear to be reporting that kind of info.
There are some real gaps in terms of the information that's collected right now by other institutions and by the ministry that governs policing issues.
And where those stats do exist, they're often not publicly available. Governor says right now, neurodivergence is not explicitly tracked in police systems.
One of the problems in terms of collecting police data is whether it's police perception that we're collecting or someone's identity and how they identify.
And without the data, it's not possible to know whether the government is truly meeting the needs of the community.
Many of our policy decisions and our legal decisions are being made on the basis of ideology or on the basis of assumptions. In order to ensure that we're truly addressing discrimination and inequality in our systems, that we're really respecting human dignity, we need the information to back up our policy decisions.
And with Statistics Canada reporting that roughly a quarter of Canadians have some sort of disability, Chase's story will likely not be the last unless policy is changed. Reagan Hasegawa, CTV News, Surrey.
And now we take a look at both your nightly and weekly weather forecast. On the north coast, tonight should see a few showers and a low at 9 degrees, while the upcoming week will be mostly rainy with one sunny day in the middle, and the high will shift from 14 to 12 degrees. In the Terrace-Kitimat area, their night also figures to see a few showers, but with a low at 7 degrees, and as for the rest of the week, there will be one mixed sun and cloud day surrounded by rainy days, and the high expects to bounce between 12 and 10 degrees. In the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, the night will also likely see rain, but with a low down at 2 degrees, with the weekly forecast calling for rain to start, then a mixed condition day before transitioning to a cloudy day, and then a sunny day before settling on another rainy day as the high bounces between 10 and 15 degrees. Checking out the highways now, visit Drive BC for the latest and up-to-date conditions, and as always, drive safe out there. Highway 16 has construction work, bridge maintenance, utility work, road maintenance work, other maintenance, and paving operations. Highway 37 has bridge construction and construction work. Highway 37A is still dealing with falling rocks between west of Isiadin and east of Stewart, and the Nishka Highway has some mowing. And this is what the roads were looking like this afternoon around the region from the view of the province's highway cams. Still to come is a look at how big Canada's deficit could grow to be this year. Welcome back. Just weeks ahead of the federal budget, there are projections that Ottawa's annual deficit could balloon to $68.5 billion this year. CTV's Abigail Beeman now with a look at what that could mean for you.
The parliamentary budget officer briefs a committee of MPs on his new economic and fiscal outlook.
I think everybody should be concerned. It's a really serious day.
The report projects a sharp hike to the annual deficit from $51.7 billion last year to $68.5 billion this year.
All of which will add to the cost of living for Canadians. Why is it? How is it possible that any prime minister could have been more expensive than Trudeau?
A large part of that is in response to what has happened, not by choice, but we had to be there for workers. If you're in the auto sector, the steel industry, in the forestry industry, you expect your government to be there.
The report includes $115 billion in announced new spending, but notably does not include the prime minister's commitment to hit the NATO target of 5% of defense spending by 2035, or any of the government's spending review that's expected to hit 15% in cuts by 2029.
I think the government is in a bind right now trying to deal with this trade war and the effects on the economy.
Still so many question marks around both spending and cuts unaccounted for in this update, with the budget and potential answers still 6 weeks away. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Ottawa.
A grieving family in Ontario is speaking out after their parents' deaths left them with a massive bill. The late couple had saved up money in RRSPs, hoping to pass it on to their children, but instead they unknowingly passed on a tax hit topping $650,000. CTV's Pat Foran explains.
Last year was a difficult time for Ashley Galley and her Burlington family. Her mother, Jackie, who worked as a nurse, died in January at 62 years old. And in December, her father, Michael, who worked in business, passed suddenly at 63. The couple were high school sweethearts.
We think that my dad passed away of a broken heart.
Gallia describes her parents as hard workers who saved to buy a cottage in 1998 and always put money away in their RRSPs for their retirement. 5 years ago, they sold their home and made the cottage their principal residence. When they both died last year, Gallia's mother's RRSP rolled into her father's for a total of $715,000. When her father died, the RRSP had to be taxed as income at about 50%, and there was capital gains on the cottage. The family had a tax bill of $659,000.
It made me more angry than anything. We've just lost both of our parents inside of 11 months.
Gallia says to avoid selling the cottage, almost the entire amount of RRSPs her parents saved had to go to pay the tax bill.
You want to do some retirement income planning for tax efficiency, at least by the age of 55 or 60.
Tax expert Evelyn Jack says families should adopt a strategy to reduce the amount of tax they pay, use life insurance, and get advice from a professional to avoid a massive tax bill when a loved one passes.
Take a tax hit earlier on so they can avoid a top marginal tax rate at death. And in the process, put that money into more tax efficient vehicles, for example, a TFSA.
Gallia says she's still grieving the loss of her parents, but wanted to share what happened to her family to help others.
Other people learn that maybe RRSPs aren't the best option for them, then at least I've done something to be helpful or beneficial, and I think my parents would be proud of me for that.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
And now we turn our attention to how the stock markets are looking as of today compared to yesterday. The Canadian dollar is down 7/100 cents. The price of gold is up $37.90. Oil is up 74 cents. Natural gas is down 3 cents. Aluminum is up $38.50. In Toronto, the TSX is up 29.30 points. The Venture Index is up 13.77. In New York, the Dow Jones is up 299.97 and Nasdaq is up 99.37. Still ahead, Canada's women's rugby team has a chance to make history. Welcome back. Canada's national women's rugby team has a chance to make history on Saturday, but it won't be easy. They're taking on an England squad in London that hasn't lost a match in 3 years. CTV's Ben Milcher has more on Canada's captain, who hails from Victoria and carries on a family tradition of representing Canada on the pitch.
Canada are going to the gold medal Rugby World Cup final.
Before dispatching New Zealand 34-19 in the semi-finals, Canada first had to stare down the Black Ferns' famous haka. Things don't get any easier on Saturday as the team takes on host England at the country's national rugby stadium. The sellout crowd of 82,000 will be the largest ever for a women's match.
It's a balance between trying to focus on your routine and keeping things as normal as possible, and also using some of that energy and soaking it in and trying to use it to your advantage.
England, ranked first in the world, has won 32 straight matches over the last 3 years.
Pops it up to the goodie!
But Canada's Victoria-born captain, Sophie de Goody, has a family tradition of leading the national team to Rugby World Cup upsets.
Let's keep it up. 40 minutes to go of everything you've done. Come on, boy. Come on, you're making history right now.
That's her dad, Hans de Goody, leading the men's team to victory over Tonga in a 1987 match. Mom Stephanie captained the women's team. Both will be in attendance on Saturday, as will Prime Minister Mark Carney.
To see this influx of Canadian media and of Canadians paying attention to the sport and to this team is so massive for us. And then beyond just the media, we feel it from the public at large in terms of the amount of messages that we're getting.
De Goody has always known this is where she wants to be. She told CTV News as a high schooler back in 2016.
Just being able to represent my national team like my parents did has been a dream of mine since I was little. So yeah, having the opportunity to wear the maple leaf.
She's already done that and more. If she and her teammates can overcome the pressure on Saturday, she'll have the crown jewel for her family's rugby legacy. Ben Milcher, CTV News, Vancouver.
The federal agency seeking to cull a number of ostriches at a BC farm says they will continue to feed and care for the birds while a stay on the cull is in place. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency says a preliminary count puts the number of animals at Edgewood's Universal Ostrich Farms up at 330, although a more precise count is ongoing. The agency says it'll feed the birds with what's being supplied by the farm's regulator suppliers, and one of the birds on site is suffering from compromised health. The agency also says while the stay ordered by the Supreme Court of Canada is in place, the delay in the cull is presenting a potential health risk as the farm had previously sought avian flu outbreak. The pilot of a small plane has been confirmed dead after a crash in Lillooet earlier this week. Police say the unidentified pilot was the only occupant of the small bush plane that crashed near Lillooet Airport on Wednesday. The Transportation Safety Board has said that the aircraft involved is a privately registered Bushmaster Super 22, but no additional information was released. A federal team of investigators are being deployed to the scene to look into the cause of the crash. That's all of our news for now. From everyone here at CFTK-TV News, I'm Cael Maslin, and thank you for watching. We will see you next time.